Welcome to the Patricia Jo Grover Show, where we turn believers into achievers. And today I have with me as a guest Lesa Artzberger. Now, Lesa, her specialty is how to thrive and not just survive. After losing her father from a heart failure 6 years ago, Lesa started to feel her own mortality, dropping everything to assist in moving her mom into an assisted living. She realized that she too may require some type of long term care in the distant future. Upon researching different options, Lesa found living benefits. She became a client first and then became passionate about helping people who with this little known protection. So, for financial preservation, that she became a financial resource insurance expert specializing in living benefits. Additionally, Lesa heads two chapters of Wine, Women, and Wealth in San Diego County and is passionate about assisting families and women in transition. This includes a loved one. Her passion is education first and foremost, and teaching people how to avoid the roller coaster of the market. Lesa also teaches Money 101 at Myra Costa College on occasion and loves it. So, thank you for being with me, Lesa. This is a wonderful time right now for people to be hearing this message. So, thank you for being with me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Patty. It was really wonderful to meet you last week on Marty Munoz's show. And I just was really excited about what you're doing with women. And I'm delighted to be here today. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. It is, for me, I know my purpose, and I know that I'm here to serve, mostly women, but what I do can help men as well, and what you do can help men as well. So this
Absolutely.
is fantastic. So, what is it like helping your mom after your father passed away?
Well, it was interesting because he had actually been a caretaker for her for many years. She had had a stroke, and they had refused to leave the big 3-story house with 4 bedrooms, and he put that chair up the staircase, for
Oh,
her, and she couldn't even cook anymore. So he was taking her out for meals almost every night. It was pretty crazy. So she thought she could stay in this big house and didn't want anyone coming in to help her. So convincing her to get out of the house was pretty tricky. She just had been there for so long, and it was pretty difficult time for myself and my siblings, and kicking and screaming to get to an assisted living, and selling the house and all of her belongings, or a lot of them, downsizing, and I think the lesson on that is preparing for that beforehand, but in more than one ways, financially and all this stuff. It was crazy. And just um, a transition time, a big transition time. Yeah.
yeah, and that I I see, we don't know what it's going to be like for us when we get older.
We don't.
Where we're going to be at, um, you know, but we know how independent that we are, and how difficult it would be for us to give up
Oh
and
my
want to give
gosh.
up our
I
home.
just
So,
felt for her.
hmm so and that's the thing. So, and it's not easy to
Mm-mm.
take things away from your loved ones, your whether it be their driver's license, because we know that some people come to a point where
Oh, yeah.
they just shouldn't be
That,
behind the wheel for themselves and for others. But it's hard to do that because you know how strong of a person they are, and how much it means to them. So,
yeah, it's their independence.
right.
And I'm fortunate to still have my mother. I'm here with her in Michigan now, but it's slowly but surely, we've found a facility that would be a step up unit for her. And I feel blessed that we found a really good place for her. But now she needs even more and more assistance. And that's why we really need to make sure that we prepare for that. It's not something that we think of in our earlier years, but the earlier that we at least create that proper foundation, the better.
Yes, yes, I can totally understand that. So, let me ask you though, um, you're you state that you specialize in living benefits. So, what is it,
Right.
and how do they work? Because, I, we've all heard of the what's the program where you something about your house, and I think you know how you kind of like you sell your house back to
Oh,
the bank,
yeah.
but you don't.
It's a reverse mortgage.
Right, that's it.
And you know something? Those are really great now. But that's a whole nother financial instrument.
Right.
And I also help teach on that aspect as
Okay.
well, if it's appropriate. But it is a little bit different than a reverse mortgage, because living benefits you can still utilize while you're in your own home. And it differs from long-term care in that you don't have to have 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living, or be that you can't perform, or move to a nursing home. It doesn't have to be that. It can be to pay your mortgage or your reverse mortgage. It can be to buy groceries. You simply have to have an event, such as a critical illness or an injury. It might even be terminal illness, or the 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living. So it can basically encompass all of those life events, and be able to pull from this bucket of money. It's about leveraging our money
Right.
and utilizing that money while we're alive, instead of the typical insurance that we're just leaving money to someone once we pass.
So I have questions about that, Lisa. So you
Absolutely.
said 2 out of 6. Where does somebody get the checklist of the 6 so they know where they fall?
It is documented by a physician, but the typical 6 activities of daily living are, and I'm usually missing one, but they're feeding, transporting, uh, bathing, toileting, and dementia issues. And if you can't perform 2 of those, then you would
You'd qualify.
qualify
Okay.
for that. Yeah, for that. And then you would be able to get monthly amount. And like I said, the long-term care is specifically just for that bucket.
Right.
But the living benefits encompasses that as well.
Okay. Now again, I'm going to ask some more questions because there are so many
Sure.
people that need to have this information. Um,
Yeah.
so they have to have their doctor needs to go through this list with them, and so it has to kind of be prescribed by a doctor. Is kind of
Well, physicians are quite familiar with the activities of daily living.
okay.
And yeah, so they just need to document in their notes that, hey, Donna has some dementia. She's no longer able to do such and such by herself. She needs assistance.
Okay.
And that's where the chronic part or the long term part will kick in. But what's also really nice about the living benefits is that it also has cash value, so that if you don't ever utilize those living benefits, you can utilize the cash value to pay your bills or to um, whatever you need to do. You can take monthly income from your bucket of money.
Right.
So it's completely versatile. That's the difference between the living benefits and the long-term care. Long-term care doesn't have cash value either.
Right.
It's use it or lose it. So that's why I was so excited about that. It was crazy because I just started feeling my own mortality, like I said, and I had a total knee at the age of 50. And
Oh,
I
wow.
actually try to get long-term care because you do want to try to get these vehicles when you're younger, when you're healthy, because the underwriting or the fees are going to be less. So I got denied for long-term care because I was still in physical therapy for the total knee, and that was going to take some time. And I just started laughing about it to a friend of mine, and she's like, Lesa, that's crazy. Aren't you? It's probably better that you did get denied because there's this vehicle out there called living benefits, which is going to be much more efficacious for you anyway. So that's how I found it. And we laugh about it now, but it really is a great way to just protect ourselves for the future.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Now you got my wheels turning. Now, for this living benefits, is that something that you can get a policy that you're putting money into, when you're a little younger and things haven't happened yet, that stays in that program and kind of rolls over? Is there anything like that?
Yeah. Hmm.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
tell us about it.
And first of all, explain what you mean by rolls over so I
Well,
make sure that I.
well, my question is, you know how when my husband and I have a policy, something that we put into, and
Mhm.
for like our benefits that aren't covered by insurance, it's like our money that we put towards, so we have money for the deductible. If we don't spend it that year, the account's there, and we can go and we
Oh, you
can
mean
use.
to year to year? Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Oh, yes. And, you know, this isn't necessarily what I tell everybody until we start digging in deep, but the beauty of it is that it's tax free. And we never learn about this because we're taught about the 401k and the 401k program, which is tax deferred. Well, this program um, actually is more like a Roth on steroids, and you don't have to worry about paying the taxes on it later. It does grow tax deferred, but you also take it out tax free.
Right.
So in later years, when you're really limited on how much income that you can take and it will mess up your Social Security, it doesn't matter how much you take out of this policy because it will actually drop you into another tax bucket because it's a tax-free bucket.
Okay.
So we don't learn about this stuff typically, and it's been around for hundreds of years. The IRS has established these types of programs for us, tax-free, and as long as you don't load them too quickly, then you're in the free, clear and free, like a IRA, Roth IRA. You can only put in as much as $6,500 a year, right?
Right.
And this you can load um, much more aggressively. Yeah, unlimited.
Well, there. So, yeah, again, this is the time that people need to be hearing about this stuff.
Yeah,
And when
it's
in the time of year too, when you gather as families, whether you physically gathering or getting together, in a Zoom or
right.
whatever, to talk about things and make sure that everybody's covered, and really think about these things.
Yeah, and you know what really hit home for me is, do you mind if I share a story with you?
No, by all means, by all means.
Um, the group of people that I work with have been doing this now for about 34 years. And there's a really beautiful story of a young woman 18 years ago that was declared terminal with breast cancer. And she was about 38 years old, very young, but her husband was long gone. Her parents weren't around. So she was alone, and she had two little ones still, and just had gone through chemo and everything for over a year and was told that she was terminal. So she basically called her financial person like myself and said, I just need to make sure that my affairs are in order for my little ones. And he said, hey, time out, time out. You have this bucket of money. You could get that experimental therapy that you asked your doctor about, which was $100,000 back then, 18 years ago, and it was a bone marrow transplant. Now that therapy is a more of a standard of care for certain types of cancer.
Right.
But it's still expensive today. But she didn't have the $100,000. Well, they took it out of this bucket of money, and she is living to this day. She didn't remember that she had it.
Wow.
Yeah. And has, watched her little girls grow up to be big girls. And I'm not saying that just having that bucket of money is going to be able to cure everything.
No.
But you know what? We would do anything and everything that we could for our loved ones and ourselves to stay alive and at least survive, but thrive through those illness and do the best that we can. And this was successful for her.
That's a wonderful story. And again, just to have protections in place. So fantastic. And thank you for sharing that, because we don't know what we don't know until we get there and we don't know it. And when it comes to something with that much medical debt associated with it and the position that it could put her in with her family, oh my goodness, that was a blessing. That was a blessing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you would mention medical debt, because more businesses and households are put into crises and bankruptcy from medical debt than anything else. And 85% of those people had health insurance. It doesn't matter, because the health insurance doesn't cover all this other ancillary type of care. And it won't pay your mortgage, because guess what? That young woman was not able to work through chemo and radiation and everything else. She was doing everything in her power just to live. Well, this helps to pay the bills too.
That's fantastic. That is,
isn't that cool?
Yeah. So, okay. So, how would you? Yeah. Again, the questions just come into my mind. So, anybody, our viewers and listeners, okay, we're going to share Lesa's information. Reach out to her to get more. Whatever questions you have, get answers for them. Because again, it makes your mind start spinning. Once you reach 50, you start to think about these things for your for your parents or your grandparents, whatever the case may be.
But it's that sandwich time period.
Right, exactly. And then you start thinking about to be prepared for yourself, because the thing is, it may not be for another 30 years that you need this or whatever, who knows, but still, if there is a possibility. And like I said, is it in talking to somebody like you, they can find out if there's a way that you can start putting aside, even if you start putting aside a little bit, so that when you are able to get into a plan like that, but if you set it aside to be able to go into a plan, that would cover the things that your insurance benefits normally don't. You might as well start, setting that aside now.
Yeah. Well, and the younger that you get into something like this, it's that power of compound interest. And when you're at a really young age, you can get into something like this at a much lower rate. And then you just set it aside and it grows exponentially. And that's what we teach women in the Wine Women and Wealth. It's that setting your foundation and getting a mindset around money, empowering us. And um, that's what we do every month. And we talk about different topics each month. And it can be just that mindset around money and feeling the abundance and attracting the abundance. And then how do we set ourselves up for our future so that we are secure?
Right.
So there's all kinds of, yeah, because as women, we do communicate differently than men. And that's just a reality.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's a safe place for us all to share and understand. And I know that in families, oftentimes we split up our duties. And oftentimes the woman, okay, you know, take care of the kids getting their school and this and that, and I'll take care of getting the finances together. And then if something happens,
Right.
oftentimes the woman or that spouse in the family has no idea where the money is even,
Exactly.
and and doesn't know if it's set up or not, or we're prepared for
Or
the
if there could
future.
have been better choices to be made.
Yeah.
Right.
So it really needs to be something that we're not afraid of. And that even if we're not responsible for it in the household, that's okay. But understand where it's at
Right.
and be participating in making those um, life decisions.
Yes. Yes.
It's so key. And so I help lay the groundwork for that for women as well at Wine Women and Wealth. And I absolutely love it. It's
Fantastic. I mean,
so rewarding.
exactly. I can imagine that feeling that you're helping empower women to be able to
Uh,
make the better choices for their lives.
yeah.
You know, what I work with my clients with is to teach them to put themselves first, physically, and that's just not just your physical, but it's your spiritual, your mental health. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just the physical health, it's the spiritual health, the mental health, and your financial health. And that's it, because it all comes together.
Mm,
That helps us
hmm.
to be able to, it gives women, you know, when you feel good enough in all of those columns, that that's empowering, and that gives you, lets you breathe so that you can be you know, have a more joyful life. So definitely, you know,
Yeah.
I'm right on this with you. So tell us more about the Wine Women and Wealth. Tell us a little
Well,
more.
what's been really interesting about Wine Women and Wealth is that we are women across the country that have groups that meet locally in different areas. And I am actually part of two chapters of Wine Women and Wealth in San Diego. But now, with everything being shut down, I moved my platform to online, and I'm meeting people across the entire US, and people can join my Wine Women in Wealth online themselves from anywhere.
Fantastic.
So it's been really fun. I'm originally from Michigan, and so I'm getting people from Michigan and Colorado and New York and Maine and
Yeah.
Florida. And it's been really fun because now the women are reaching across, you know, the divide here, like you and I.
Right. Exactly.
And so, yes, we've been having a tough time in 2020, but guess what? We've been finding tools to work it out and work stronger and
And
in a
smarter.
way
And smarter.
smarter. And in a way, this has been kind of a blessing for women not having having to run around all the time. Yeah, we get the zoomies because we're on Zoom all day long, but I think some
Yeah.
of it has been empowering as well. So that's what I do, and it's on a monthly basis, and typically the second Wednesday in the month. I am taking off Wine, Women, and Wealth in December, but I'm doing a different group in the middle of the day on the second Wednesday of the month, and it's called Women in Transition, and it's with Teresa Walkerly. And I'll send that to you
Right.
so that
And
you,
send the information and and
I
put it in the
will.
link because
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because the more that we share and the more that I know about what you're doing and what I'm
Right.
doing, all of us women need to reach out and be
And
able to,
lock arms, baby, because
yeah,
it really
help each other grow.
exactly, exactly. And
Yeah,
get the message out there for women to be able to that they are capable, they are worthy, and be smart about the choices and decisions that they're making to move forward in their future and live what life we have left to the fullest.
that's
Exactly.
right, Patty.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what Lesa, what is the most important advice that you could give to women who are in transition? And when you
Um,
say transition, let's clarify for people what
okay.
you mean by transition.
Yeah, it can be losing a loved one, like me with my father. And that's where I realized, there are women out there going through the same thing that I'm going through. And it can be entering the workforce. Yeah, getting married, starting a family, because you can start one of these for a child for college education too. And it can be divorce. That's a big one.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big one because a lot of times we'll have children involved and we'll need to be able to set something up. So that is what I term women in transition. And first and foremost, we start from where you are. And it can be as simple as creating a budget. And I hate calling it a budget, I call it a spending plan or a wish bucket. Yeah. And I have different Excel spreadsheets or different techniques depending on what you like to do, pen and
Right.
paper or on the computer. And I help women establish that and figure out what, I mean, maybe it can only be $25, $50 a month that we put away for savings, but creating that foundation and protecting ourselves from where we are right now.
Yes.
And
I applaud you on that, Lisa. I teach my clients about budgeting when it comes to because I'm all
so
about
good.
goal achievement. Okay. So it's,
Yes.
and for me, my focus is to help people from dream weaving all the way through to achieving. But I teach them budgeting, and it's not just money. It's their time, their money, and their energy, to and taking all
So
these
key.
pieces, and those are our measurables when you're trying to stay on track with things. It's all about budgeting and planning and calendaring. So I applaud you with what you're doing with that because you're taking the people and helping them focus on the budgeting and utilizing their money to the fullest is what you're doing, is because you're making that dollar stretch when they're putting it into something. So
Yes, you are.
kudos,
And we
kudos.
have to create the mindset for these little buckets. And
Yes.
maybe you too want to save a little bit over here to buy a house
Right.
or whatever it might be. But it's about that mindset.
Yes. Oh, so such fabulous information to be sharing with people right now. Again, this is the time of year when, we're just had Thanksgiving, Christmas is on the way. We're starting to look at, well, okay, what about, this is when people start looking at their budgets
Right.
and everything, and really seriously doing some consideration of do what should I need to change this? Are there any subscriptions I need to cancel? Are there any things I should be looking at that would be more beneficial for me? So fantastic. It's wonderful. So do you have any special gifts or offers that you have for our
Yeah,
viewers?
absolutely. For anybody that wants a personal financial inventory booklet, I would be happy to provide that. And it just makes sure that we have all of our information in one booklet, and it's our trust, our will, our passcodes for all of our accounts and our retirement accounts, so that if something does happen to us, we have it all in one place. And it's a really beautiful booklet.
Well,
So
right.
reach out.
Awesome. And I suppose too that that really makes sense, because if one person has been handling something more than, the other person isn't quite as aware of everything, if it's all in one place, that makes it so much easier if something were to happen to the person
Oh
that
my
normally
gosh.
deals with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we'll share that information. We'll share that information below. And was that it? Was that?
Yeah.
And again, thanks for being with me, Lesa.
Oh, thank you so much, Patty.
All right. Bye
I look
bye.
forward to working together. Bye bye.